Scotty A. Smith coming in hot. Let's get it.
Listen, full disclosure, as Chris just mentioned, I'm a Nuggets fan. I get it. But the narrative that followed game one of the Western Conference Finals is absolutely absurd to me. Like, this is a narrative that reflects on the country itself. This is just where we're at as a nation. It bothers me. Everything about this bothers me. And listen, I get we're playing the Lakers. We're playing LA. We're playing a team that's won, I don't know, they've won like 17 titles. The Nuggets haven't even made a final. So I get it's Little Sisters of the Poor versus the greatest team to ever exist, along with the Celtics. But what are we doing? Like, literally, if you would have went to any headline, ESPN, Fox Sports, Sports Illustrated, wherever you went, the headline might as well have been after obviously the Nuggets win game one. It might as well have been, how can the Nuggets come back from this stunning moral victory by the Lakers? That's what it felt like. A moral victory for the Lakers in game one. A game they lose by 6 in a game the Nuggets were favored by 6. So Vegas hit it exactly where it was. And I understand that the fourth quarter, the Lakers played better. But are we just going to ignore, and really it was the second half of the fourth quarter, are we just going to ignore the first 44 minutes of the game and just pay attention to the last 4? Are we just ignoring that completely? And then the narrative's like, well, listen, the Lakers should feel great because Rui Hachimura, they made adjustments. Rui was on and they could have free safety. Anthony Davis in the paint and Joker didn't know what to do with that. Really? Really? These people are paid millions of dollars to be on TV, and they really want to say out loud that Rui Hachimura, who is they're at 4 inches shorter than Joker and 50 pounds lighter than Joker, is the answer? No, if Anthony Davis is helping, we kick it out to somebody, they're going to hit a 3, it's going to be a problem. I promise you the Nuggets will be ready for that. Everyone was like, the Lakers made adjustments and now they're ready to go. Guess what? I think it's the opposite. They showed their hand. They showed their hand too soon. They showed their hand. They still lost the game. And now the Nuggets have everything they need to know going into game 2 about what the Lakers want to try and do to prevent the Nuggets from succeeding on offense. Or even on the defensive end, which the Nuggets were terrible in that second half. The Nuggets didn't change anything the whole game, played the same way, and still won. Now the Nuggets can adjust. Now we're looking at good things. I mean, it's just wild to me. And then the biggest narrative is like, well, the Nuggets played so well offensively. They will not possibly continue to hit the shots they did in game 1. Okay, let me tell you as I'm trying to look at this real quick, because I took a screen cap of it. In game 1, okay, let's talk about who outperformed their shooting performance real quick. Can we? LA shot 54.8% from the field. Their playoff, and I'm only using playoffs right now because if I used regular season, I know a ton of people would be like, but the Lakers are a different team. They're so much better after the All-Star break. You can't use the whole regular season because they're so different and playing different players. Only playoff stats here. 54.8 is what they shot from the field in game 1. Playoff average, 47.5. That's a difference of 7.3%. They were 7.3% better from the field in the game overall. Denver shot 54.9, basically the same, but they averaged 49.4, so they were only 5.5% better from the field. Let's go to 3-point percentage. LA shot 12% better than they did in over the course of the postseason in game 1. Nuggets only 8% better. Let's go to free throw percentage. LA 8% better from the free throw line in game 1. The Nuggets were a minus 3.8%. They shot worse from the free throw line than they've done throughout the course of the playoffs. So tell me, which team can't repeat this performance? And if you're like, you're just a Nuggets homer, you're wrong. How about I go to a app and website called Shot Quality that tracks every single game. They track the player shooting, how open they are, where they shoot from, and everything about it. In this game where the Nuggets won by 6, shot quality said the Nuggets should have won by 9. They should have won, instead of 132 to 126, if everyone shoots how they normally do on both teams, the Nuggets should have won 120 to 111. So this whole narrative that the Nuggets can't possibly play, they played the best game of their life and they barely won at home by 6. They should feel so nervous. LeBron came into the post-game presser laughing and smiling with a smoothie in his hand. F you, LeBron. F you, man. You guys outperformed yourself as well on offense. Both teams played above and beyond what they're capable offensively from a game-to-game basis. All right, but the only team that wants to, the narrative wants to talk about, the national media wants to talk about, is how the Nuggets play better. The Nuggets are a better team than these Lakers. AD will not score 40 in another game this series. I promise you that. There will be adjustments on both sides, but home court is with the Nuggets. They're up 1-0. Vegas has them as a heavy favorite at this point to win this series. But if you listen to the Nick Wright, he's like Nick Wright, who, by the way, was 12-0 on picking before this game won, picking the Lakers to win or lose a game. He had been perfect. Guess what? He picked the Lakers to win game 1. They lost. And what did he do the next day? He said, I've never been more confident in the Lakers. Of course you are, Nick. After you get it wrong, after you pick them to win and they don't, you're never more confident than you've ever been. I promise you. Listen, can the Lakers win this series? Yes. Is it going to be a dogfight? Absolutely. Are the Lakers a great team? They're playing at a very high level right now. There's no doubt about that. But to say, and this is what's wrong with America, Chris, it's participation trophies, it's moral victories, it's everyone should feel good about how they play because they played real hard and they had good results in certain situations. Why are we discounting the first half where the Nuggets absolutely obliterated them and only talking about the second half? Why are we giving moral victories to a team that lost game 1? They lost game 1. Now they have to win, what, 4 of the next 6? They got to win 4 of 6 against the best team in the Western Conference all season in the Nuggets? The Nuggets are going to win this series. Likely. It's far more likely than not that the Nuggets win this series than not. But the national narrative is absurd, embarrassing, and ridiculous because they all are just hung up on the Lakers. Listen, LeBron, it's time. It's time, LeBron. It's time to pass the torch. And there's no better player. And KCP said this in his post-game presser. KCP, of course, won in the bubble with the Lakers, so he's played with LeBron. Now he's on the Nuggets with, and it's a super fascinating comparison that I've never heard before. But he basically compared LeBron and Joker and said the only difference is LeBron can jump a little higher. And listen, I get there's different aspects to the game, but if you look at how they contribute to the game, they're great scorers. They're great rebounders for their position, and they have the best vision and potentially the 2 smartest players as far as basketball IQ in the league are those 2 guys. So that comparison is smart. This is the perfect moment, LeBron, to pass that torch. Now you can just ride off in the sunset and play with your son Bronny on a garbage team in the NBA when some team drafts your son when they shouldn't. Let's just do that. And let's hand the torch to the rightful owner at this point, the best player in the NBA, who's putting up historic stats in this postseason, Joker. Let's go Nuggets. Figure it out, national media. Figure your shit out.
Ooh, Scotty coming in hot. I'm not going to lie. I was ready to talk about all of this. And I was like, you know what? When you said you had something to say about it as well, you want to do it coming in hot, I was like, let the dog loose. Let him have at it. Because honestly, it was, I lost my mind watching everything that we were watching.
I'll drink to that.
I'll drink to that too. Yeah, absolutely. Like,
let's go.
It was there was moments where Skip Bayless is like, oh, then they hit those miraculous two shots that should not have gone in. And I'm like, you're basing this game off of two shots? Really? And then they're like, oh, the Lakers, this is a win for the Lakers, a loss for the Nuggets in terms of how this game ended. Lakers have everything they need. I'm like, are you ignoring what just took place in this first game? It's wild to me. And I get it. I get the national media needs to talk about these big time programs, these organizations, the Lakers, the Boston Celtics. They want these matchups. They need these matchups because they want the ratings. They need the ratings. And that doesn't change the fact that the Lakers aren't as good of a team as the Nuggets, and they don't want to admit that. They want everyone to believe that the Lakers are still relevant, which, I mean, again, they are. They like you said, they still have a chance to win the series. But when you spin it a certain way and you say, oh, the first 3 quarters of this game doesn't matter. If you translate that to a series and the Nuggets win 3 quarters of the games, who wins the series?
I mean, obviously the Nuggets. I mean, it's like even if you just reverse the order of what happened in this game, if you would have had the first quarter be the fourth quarter and vice versa, everyone would be talking about how the Lakers are done in this series. They'd be talking about how the Lakers are done. But they just focus on that one quarter as a moral victory, as like a you get your ribbon because you tried real hard and you were really close to winning.
Yeah.
That doesn't exist. It's a best of 7. The Lakers aren't some penultimate team that is just so dominant, obviously, because they weren't a very good regular season team that can just roll through. Hey, they lose game 1, no big deal. This isn't the Lakers that didn't lose in the Western Conference playoffs years ago with Shaq and Kobe, and then lost in game 1 to Iverson and the Sixers, and then won in 5. This isn't what we're talking about.
Yeah.
The Nuggets were literally before game 1 favored in Vegas to win this series. Favored to win this series. Now they win game 1 and everyone's like, gotta love where the Lakers are at. Gotta love the position the Lakers are in right now. What?
Oh, and
do they think the game is just going to play out exactly like the fourth quarter alone? That's the only quarter that mattered?
So, absolutely. I mean, so we have some thoughts in the chat. Those clouds on Fox and ESPN said Hachimura locked up Jokic on defense in the second half of the game. Sure, you throw a little thing in there, a little mix up. Does that change the fact that over the course of the first 3 quarters that Jokic absolutely dominated offensively against the best defensive player in the NBA in Anthony Davis, and you're just saying that Rui Hachimura is the guy that's going to come in and shut down Jokic when Anthony Davis can't?
There's not a single Laker fan on earth prior to game 1 that said, you know what the key is? We should put Rui Hachimura on Jokic. No, they were all like, no, we have Anthony Davis, and he's the best defensive player in the league, and he will shut down Jokic. And Jokic absolutely embarrassed him for 3 quarters, and then they switched to Hachimura and let Davis roam in the background, and that worked for a quarter. That worked for the fourth quarter. Don't get me wrong. It was a great move, but did they play their card too soon? I think so, a little bit. I think the Nuggets are going to have something to, counteract that. And quite frankly, Jokic alone could counteract that without Malone doing anything or saying anything. Borderline Jokic might be, if Jokic retired right now and became a head coach, he'd be a top 5 coach in the league. He's that smart.
Yeah.
He's that smart.
And it was fascinating to lead the lead up, right? Because everyone's like on the lake, series over series. It's like they've never seen the Nuggets before. It's like they've never watched a single Nuggets game all season long. Because then they're coming out and being like, oh, Jokic looked pretty good against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Yeah, he's pretty good. And then, they beat the Minnesota Timberwolves. Then it's like, oh, well, you got Phoenix. They are a juggernaut. They got Kevin Durant. They got Devin Booker. How is Denver going to match up with those two? Well, you know, we figured it out, and Jokic still put up historic numbers and literally ran the Phoenix Suns out of the gym. Okay. Oh, maybe Jokic is really good. I think the Nuggets have a really good shot. They just beat Kevin Durant and the Suns. And then you're thinking, oh, the national media is coming around. They're recognizing that they're seeing this team on national television more than 2 times in their entire season. They're like, wow, the Nuggets might have something here. I think they have a shot. I am trusting the Nuggets. Who do you predict for the Lakers Nuggets series? Oh, we'll take the Lakers. The Lakers are a much better team. And everyone picks the Lakers again. And it's like, am I missing something here? The Nuggets, do these analysts look at Vegas odds? How often is Vegas wrong this much on a team? Not often. Now,
we were slight underdogs against Phoenix, but we were favored, of course, against the Timberwolves, and then we were favored against the Lakers in this series going into the series.
And now everyone's like, oh, we got to, like, leading up to this, Skip Bayless was actually giving the Nuggets, because Shannon is a Lakers fan. Shannon Sharp. Love Shannon. He's a ex-Denver Bronco. Love him. But he's a Lakers fan, and he's picking the Lakers to win. So you can't have a debate show, and you can tell how cringy it was for Skip to defend the Denver Nuggets. It was hilarious on the fact that in a debate show, you can't agree with your opponent, but he had to go against them, and he had to find reasons why the Nuggets were a good team. He never picked them, but he had to find out reasons. And then the Lakers have one good quarter, and he's like, the Lakers found the sauce. They found what they needed. And I'm just like, it all goes out the window. And I'm like, what? What are we doing?
It's silly. It's ridiculous. Listen, game 2 will be fascinating tomorrow. I'm not saying the Nuggets are going to win tomorrow. That's not what I'm saying. I think what I'm saying is the narrative after game 1 is absurd to me. One team won and basically matched the spread, and everyone's talking about how well the other team did. And that, to me, in a Western Conference Finals, this isn't like this isn't the middle of the season regular season game where it's like moral victories might work in the regular season. They don't work in the playoffs.
No.
There's no such thing as a moral victory. You know, some Eagles fans might have tried to take a moral victory from losing to the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. There's no moral victories in football. There's no moral victories in the playoffs of basketball. There's no such thing as that. I, as a fan of a team, will never be like, I know we lost, but I'm feeling really good right now. No, I'm pissed off. I'm pissed off we lost. That's how I feel as a fan. And the whole narrative throughout the playoffs was in series 1 against the Timberwolves, after we beat up on the Rudy Gobert, it was, well, Rudy Gobert sucks. He's not a good defender. Can't guard him. Despite the fact that he's got a defensive player of the year under his belt. And then it was like, well, remember a few years ago, DeAndre Ayton shut down Joker in the playoffs in a sweep. The Suns swept him a couple years back when Joker didn't have any of his guys healthy. So it was like DeAndre Ayton will shut him down. That proved to be false. And then it was like, oh, now we got Anthony Davis. He will absolutely shut him down. He's playing better defensive basketball than we've ever seen in the playoffs. And then one-on-one, when they're matched up, obviously Joker owned him. Now, Anthony Davis got his on the other end, no doubt about it. But on that side of the ball, Anthony Davis was like a non-factor for a lot of the game. I mean, he got dominated by Joker. And I'm kind of the mentality, Chris, and I agree with the intelligence, as I'm sure Cuban does, of MPJ, who was interviewed today saying, like, or maybe this was the post-game presser, basically saying, like, us not playing well in that fourth quarter, and, like, you know, if the Nuggets would have won by 20, I don't know if they'd be as prepared for this next game as they are going to be now. They know they're in a dogfight. If they would have won easily by 20 in game 1, going into game 2, they might have been a little relaxed. Like, let's just do what we just did in game 1. We'll be fine. But now, because of the fact they got a pushback but still won, To me, it's a positive for the Nuggets. Everyone in the national media is portraying the fourth quarter as a negative for the Nuggets. I think it's a positive. Them getting outplayed in that fourth quarter is now leaning themselves to like, hey, we got to focus in. We got to do what we know we do well. And also, this is how they played us in that fourth quarter, and we got to combat that. Whereas the Nuggets played the same way. God help me if they switch all game in game 2, I'm going to lose my mind on defense. If I have to see Jamal Murray guard one-on-one against LeBron James ever again, I'm going to lose my mind, Chris. Jamal Murray, I don't think is a bad defender.
He's not.
Literally, he has no chance muscle-wise to prevent LeBron from getting in the paint and overpowering him. It's just stupid. Why are we switching against a team that can't shoot? It makes no sense to me. It's almost like, to me, another Brian Windhorst, it's almost to me like Malone thought, hey, let's make him believe this is how we're going to play him all series, because we're going to win game 1 regardless, because we're rested, we're ready to go, and we're going to dominate. And then in game 2, we start to focus in and like actually play how we're going to play him, because it makes no sense to me why the Nuggets were switching on every screen on defense.
You know what's also weird for the Nuggets and for Coach Malone and his decision making? He's had multiple games in the playoffs where, especially in the Suns series and also in this series, in game 1, where he's had a player come out, put up like 20 points in the first half, and they just disappear off the court for the second half. They just disappear. We saw that with Michael Porter Jr. when he put up like 21 in the first half. We saw that with Bruce Brown. We've seen it with KCP, where like all of a sudden it's like what happens to Bruce Brown and Michael Porter Jr. after having a best first half of any player, and they just like don't do anything for like the rest of the game. They have 21 points to go into the halftime. They have 21 points or little over that to finish the game. I'm just like, that's a weird thing.
Real quick, Chris, and I think this is a slightly overrated stat, but I'm gonna say real quick, who do you think had the best plus minus on the Nuggets? I don't know if you don't look if you're looking right now.
I'm not.
Who had the best plus minus while on the court of all Nuggets players in game 1?
For the time that he was on, is it Bruce Brown?
No, because he played with the bench. He was actually a -5. All the starters were plus, by the way. All the starters were plus.
Watson, that's Cuban. Watson? I mean, otherwise, I would guess KCP.
KCP was ironically second. He was a +16.
Yeah, KCP
There was one starter better than that.
MPJ?
It was MPJ. MPJ was a +20. In 35 minutes. MPJ needs to get more minutes. Here's the counter. Here's the counter to that fourth quarter stupid strategy and not stupid strategy, but the strategy the Lakers played in the fourth quarter. You take Anthony Gordon out, you put MPJ at the 4. No longer can Anthony Davis just roam in the paint and hang out. Now he's covering MPJ, and maybe they have someone else cover MPJ, and that's fine. But if you're playing that lineup, you play MPJ, you have Bruce Brown out there, you have Jamal Murray, you have KCP. Everyone on the court can shoot a 3 and make them pay. Make them pay for playing that defense against Joker.
And I'm looking at this roster. I'm looking at the Lakers roster. So, do you have 2 liabilities on this team that you can't keep on the court for long periods of time? And that's Jared Vanderbilt, who can't score. He's not a scorer. To
be fair, he didn't even shoot in game 1.
He didn't even
he played 10 minutes. He didn't shoot.
That tells you everything you need to know. And then D'Angelo Russell, D'Lo. Those 2 players are liabilities. So if you're running a team that's 8 deep, you only play 8 guys, and you have 2 liabilities on that roster out of those 8, and you only can rely on 6 dudes. I don't like that if I'm a Lakers fan. I don't. Like, that's a situation. I mean, you're going to ask, this is similar to what we saw in the Phoenix series with the the Stars having to put up as much on their back as they with KD and with Devin Booker, they couldn't put up 80 points a game to stick with the Nuggets. Now, is Anthony Davis going to put up 40 points? He's only had 2 games above 30 in this entire postseason. He's averaging 23 a game, or 23, what is he averaging this playoff? Something low 20s. There's no way he can put up 40 points a game. Like, the Lakers had one of their best games of the playoffs, and they lost. It's crazy to me.
Nick Wright, before the series started, and of course he was picking the Lakers. I mean, you see him in the background right there. And I do have a lot of respect for Nick Wright.
You love Nick because he's a KC guy.
He's a Chiefs fan. He's from KC.
He does the same thing in the NFL, except...
But he gets to be right in the NFL because Patrick LeVon Mahomes plays for that team.
But he's wrong in the NBA.
To an extent, yes. And I forgot what I was about to say, Chris.
You're talking about how Nick Wright picked the Lakers to win this.
Yeah, and he picked them, and then I'm trying to remember what my point with that was, though. We might want to move on. I don't remember. I don't recall where. Maybe I'll remember it in a second. It'll probably come back to me.
No worries.
Reckoning. Of course, Scotty only likes analysts when they pick his team. Yeah, I like Nick Wright when he picks the Chiefs. When he picks the Lakers, don't care for him.
I'm still shocked that buzzer beater.
He also picked the 76ers to come out of the East. So how smart is he?
I mean, and NBA is kind of his bread and butter too. Like, that's kind of where he got a lot of recognition early on under the tutelage of Colin Cowherd.
Oh, I know what my point was. So he came on the show today, on his show on Fox Sports, whatever it's called. I don't remember.
First things
first. Yeah. And basically talked about all the things the Nuggets did great that they don't normally do, and they still only won by 6. And I was just like, dude, when did Anthony Davis... But prior to the series, he was basically like, Anthony Davis only needs to average like 21 points on offense for the Lakers to win this series. And he goes for 40 in game 1 and they lose. But he doesn't mention that. He doesn't bring that up, Chris.
No.
He only talks about how good the Nuggets played in some aspects, with ignoring the fact that Anthony Davis put up 40 for the first time in these playoffs. And by the way, Anthony Davis is very inconsistent game to game. I mean, or maybe not game to game, but every third game he plays like dog shit. So we're gonna get one of those soon.
He had a 17-point game against the 17 and an 11-point game against Golden State. Like, his highest scoring total was 30. Other than that, he scored 25 or less throughout the entire series. 23, 23, 11.
And he puts up 40. And Nick Wright doesn't talk about that narrative.
No.
On his show, when talking about when he said specifically the most important thing Anthony Davis needs to do is shut down Joker on defense. He didn't do that at all. And then he puts up 40 on offense, where Nick Wright says he only needs to average like 21, and the Lakers will be fine. And they still lose game 1, and Nick Wright's like, I've never been more confident. When he also picked them to win game 1. Nick, dude. You're lying to yourself right now. Come on, Nick. Come on, Nick. By the way, congratulations to Nick Wright, because he has a face for radio.